Hello and welcome to the Midweek Check-in. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I don't respond well in the moment to interruptions. You're focused on getting a particular job done. It might be a time-sensitive task. And then something else crops up. A phone call, a knock on the door. People want you to do something for them. It's just life really, so I shouldn't be that affected by it. I've got lots of excuses as to why my interruption phobia is okay really, but it just boils down to grumpy old man syndrome. The more you read scripture, the more it becomes painfully obvious that Jesus' best moments arose from interruptions. Blessing little children, healing the 10 lepers, the rich young ruler, Zacchaeus, blind Bartimaeus, Nicodemus. This is clearly an incomplete list, but it's evident that Jesus positively shone in such situations, and it appears that compassion oozed out of him because of interruptions. Put another way, his compassionate nature manifested itself more clearly at such times. No one wants to pay a visit to the local A&E, but the principle of triage and making sure that priority cases are kept to priority is a very important one. It's a matter of life and death. Broken limbs must be seen to, but if someone stops breathing, it's clear where the immediate threat to life is. It's obvious where the focus should be. Triage helps us to apply common sense to the problem of which people to deal with first in an accident and emergency department, because it helps us to deal sensibly and logically with what is otherwise a stressful situation. If we're not careful, when we apply the let's keep the main thing mantra using only our logical minds, we're going to end up like Saul. If you remember last weekend, we said that Saul made a habit of focusing on the wrong main thing. Before David disposed of Goliath on the battlefield facing a formidable giant, fear was the wrong main thing. Then, when David received more plaudits than Saul in battle, jealousy became the wrong main thing. In our lectionary New Testament reading for this weekend, we come across Jesus applying spiritual triage, and his actions, more specifically the order of his actions, baffle us. First case, a young girl who's on the brink of death. Second case, a woman with a condition that's not life-threatening, a condition she's had for 12 years. Do your triage. Read your risk assessment. Who needs the attention first? Where does Jesus need to be? Where does the biggest risk to life exist in this scenario? We know what the main thing is here. Jesus should too. A quick mission interjection. When we're thinking about a mission statement, when we're thinking about how we can deepen our discipleship walk, we're committing ourselves to being more like Jesus. The hidden implication is that transformation needs to take place in me. That is, we're moving away from who we are now towards being a more Jesus-y person. When we sing to be like Jesus, we're actually saying, you know that persona I've spent a lifetime shaping, that vivacious, outgoing or shy, introverted person that people know as me? If I want to be like Jesus, then I need to be prepared to let that person go. You know, the grumpy old man syndrome that I suffer from, I can't let it define me. I can't do that and sing to be like Jesus. This hope possesses me. That's what discipleship is. Missional interjection over. Except to say that if we're not on this discipleship track, then the spiritual triage that Jesus does in Mark 5 will still be opaque to us. Anyone can read the story and understand the words, but disciples need to read this and say, how do I get to the place of being able to do this level of spiritual triage? Because without this Jesus-y approach to life, the church, our fellowship, will be indistinguishable from the world. If we don't demonstrate a different approach, if we don't show the world a different way, then we're just another example of a people who run after the wrong main thing. Let's get into spiritual triage and see what, for Jesus, was the main thing. Jesus had just got off a boat. He was still at the water's edge when one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet and kept begging him, "My little daughter's at death's door. Come and lay your hands on her so that she can get well and live." Talk about interruptions. Previous to this story, Jesus had got into the boat on the other side and had got into a deep sleep. Such was his fatigue level. And even then had his sleep interrupted so he could calm a raging storm. No sooner was he out of the boat when he was accosted by the local corps secretary, down on his knees. An important synagogue official was asking for help, so that's why Jesus responded immediately. 'Cause he was important, at least that's how it might have looked. It's not a great leap or fabulous insight, but I'm going to say that compassion was Jesus' main thing. Common sense says that the preservation of life is a good main thing, but for Jesus, it was compassion. If Jesus came to earth just to heal people of their physical ailments, a very noble and worthwhile pursuit, then what should have happened here? A woman who needed a cure believed that she could be made well if she merely touched Jesus' clothes. She did so and was healed. Job done. She was physically cured of what ailed her. Verse 30. At once Jesus felt power go out from him. He was hot on Jairus' heels, moving swiftly because time was of the essence. He had to stay with this important official so he could get to the house and heal his daughter. He felt power leave him. What to do? I know what this grumpy old man would do, but I'm on a discipleship track, so I need to expose myself to the healing power of these words. I would have dashed on because, applying triage principles, I would reason that this lesser issue could wait. I'm a man on a mission, and I don't like being interrupted. Jesus loved being interrupted, or perhaps, closer to the truth of the matter, he didn't allow the attraction of self-importance to cloud the issue. He was truly humble, which means that with his ego kept in check, he could see more clearly to apply spiritual triage principles. Jesus was driven by compassion. It's why he followed Jairus so promptly. It's also why he stopped and said, "Who touched my clothes?" I've never read How to Win Friends and Influence People, but I'm sure that asking stupid questions must be a big no-no. If you want to do well in life and look good in other people's eyes, asking silly questions must be something to avoid at all costs. He was in the middle of a crowd. They were all touching, pushing, and in close contact with each other. Everyone touched his clothes. Theological interjection. It's not enough to come to church. It's not even enough to worship. it's not enough to serve God by helping others. All of these things are vital, but they're not enough. Faith in God must be exercised to validate all these other actions. It's possible to touch Jesus' clothes, to be very close to him, to be in the right place, and to miss the blessings he longs to give us. He's full of compassion. This story makes that very clear. He's full of compassion, but we still have to respond with faith. Jesus has compassion on the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. The woman was healed physically, but as Jesus applied spiritual triage principles, he knew that the healing wasn't complete. Her bleeding made her an outcast in Jewish circles. She was unclean. She felt excluded, so mind and spirit required further healing. Jesus was saying, "My compassion for you demands that I give you what you need to be made whole." Here we go. Verse 34. "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease." Daughter, just that one word implies a radical inclusion. She'd suffered 12 years of radical exclusion. She was unclean, unacceptable, therefore not welcomed. Shalom was the traditional Jewish blessing that implied wholeness and completion, something she'd not experienced for a good long while. Be healed was an invitation to enjoy walking in her new identity. Her new identity? Whole, complete. Jesus is into radical inclusion. We just need to be aware that who Jesus includes is going to make many people uncomfortable. Spiritual triage forces us to see the world differently to the crowd. Discipleship, being on a purposeful journey in order to know Jesus better, is the only way we can learn how to apply spiritual triage. Again, when the world looks on, applying spiritual triage principles appears odd. It looks like it's a mistake. Faith in God, backed up by action, is the way to go. Thanks for listening. Prayers at the Hall tomorrow at 7. Be there or pray for the prayers. See you Sunday. Stay safe.